In this special episode of the Sing to Thrive podcast, we are absolutely delighted to introduce to you two pioneers of sound, and they are Jonathan and Andi Goldman. With decades of devotion to the healing power of sound, Jonathan and Andi have touched millions through their award-winning books, music, and global teachings. Their wisdom is both deeply spiritual and beautifully practical, showing us how something as simple as a hum or a heartfelt tone can shift our state, open the heart, and reconnect us with the divine. Welcome. It's so lovely to have you with us.
Oh, Julia and Maddie, thank you so much for inviting us. We are honored
It is a
to
real
be
pleasure
here.
to be here with you and share our life's work. As you may know, I've been in the field of sound for over 40, getting on 50 years. Andi has been working with me for
30.
30 years, and she is a licensed holistic psychotherapist, and I come from the approach of shifting consciousness a little bit more through the frequency-based phenomena, through the intention-based phenomena. And we have just been working together, and we found that combining our resource, we got a 1+1 = 3 phenomena.
Yeah.
Well, it was many, many, many years ago when Jonathan and I started working together, and we really wanted to combine Jonathan's pioneering work in sound healing. He is a founding pioneer at this point in time. And then with my background as a holistic psychotherapist, we thought, what can we do to combine our work? So we wrote a couple of books and we did do a lot of combining sound with psychology and, because sound really opens up the emotional body
Yeah.
in a very profound way. So we were delighted to combine our work.
Indeed.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Before we launch into the 4 pillars of sound, we would love to hear both of your stories of why and how you got into sound healing.
Well, what a blessing. I'll start first because my story's older than Andi's.
Much.
It happened probably over 50 years ago for sure. Yikes. And I was playing in a rock and roll band in a seaside bar in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And I remember strapping on my guitar after a break, walking out on stage with the rest of the audience, looking at me. And of course, the other band members were there. And I became aware that if you like, vibrations in this bar, in this club, were one of sort of negativity and violence. And now, no doubt, the alcohol and the other intoxicants that people were imbibing in were also creating this atmosphere. But I realized at the time that the music that I was creating with the band was helping induce this atmosphere of negativity and violence. And I had the thought, gee, I wonder if music can be used to make people feel good. It was that simple, but I've been playing professionally for about 15 years. And I'd never had that thought. Most of the time was always, look at me, aren't I cool? And all of a sudden I'm looking out and I'm going, wow, I'm somehow contributing to the environment, the field. I didn't know anything about fields. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, but it was just an intuitive hit that something was going on that I was, if you like, responsible for co-creating. And this thought, I wonder if sound, music can be used to make people feel better. And about a week later, that shifted just a couple of degrees, became, I wonder if sound can be used to heal. And from there, I literally began the Sound Healers Association. I took my record company, which was a new wave record company, and turned it into a new age record company. I didn't have to change the name of the company, which was Spirit Music. So it's good name for for, if you like, a therapeutic music label. And then I got a degree from Lesley University researching the uses of sound and music for healing. And at some point in time and space, I came across this
Oh,
beloved being. And beloved being, why don't you share how you got not only into sound, but she is just one of the most empathic, compassionate
oh.
therapists and beings on the planet. So it's just a real pleasure to be of service with her.
Well, we are very happy that we work so beautifully together. And of course, the story that Jonathan was just sharing, that was way before we met each other. And so during all of that time, I was a holistic psychotherapist and had my practice, and I was very interested in expressive therapies. And at the time, one of my dear, dear friends who turned out, how I met Jonathan was through my friend Don Campbell, who at the time was very involved with sound healing. And so I had that little bit of connection with sound. And then I met Jonathan through Don. And at that time, and that was 30 years ago. And so there's been a lot of movement in the field of sound since then. And, as I mentioned earlier, you know, it was just a really, was a good fit because we both were very excited about sound and being of service. And, as I mentioned, we wrote a couple of books together and then we used the material in those books to teach. And we've, taught workshops through all these years and lectures and podcasts. And here we are.
Let me ask you kids this. Do you know of the work of Don Campbell?
Oh, right.
The name rings a bell for me because
So
I was just thinking with Andy, like that's pretty, what was that, 1975 or 85, to be in holistic healing? Like it wasn't really a thing back then. So
No,
yeah,
it was in
you
the
were already
80s.
leading edge. Yeah.
The mid 80s.
Mm.
And I had, previously uh had been involved as a teacher at international schools around the world. And I really wanted to be a counselor. I really wanted to be a therapist. So it was in the mid 80s that I went back to school and got my master's degree in psychology and counseling. So that was, yeah, a very long time ago.
But you were, even before that, always interested in esoterica.
Oh, for
I
sure.
know that
Yeah.
you were like that's how you actually met Don Campbell. And you were studying astrology a long time ago.
Astrology and
We have to just, we're
Yeah.
jumping all around here, but we need to inform anybody who's listening. And just because this being now, he passed away
Mm.
probably close to 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he was at the top of the game in terms of the sound healing field. And now he's not here. And a lot of people don't know of his, but his work is brilliant. He's written more than a half a dozen books. His most famous book was called The Mozart Effect. But
Oh,
he's also,
yes.
I,
Yeah.
I was going to mention you might have
Yeah.
remembered through the Mozart effect. And so he was just a dear, beloved friend of mine, and he introduced me
was
to his
one of the
beloved.
first artists on the new spirit music therapeutic music label. And he's just it's so interesting. He did wonderful work really introducing the importance of tone
Mm.
and also the importance of the ear and hearing, and the work of Dr. Alfred Tomatis, who has sort of disappeared off the map. But there's lots of sound is really coming into being in the last 5 years. But I have to tell you that there were monumental things in the 80s and 90s that really were discovered about working with sound that have almost been forgotten now.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
you're
it's
clearly
interesting.
pioneers of bringing that forward because it's a lived experience, isn't it? There's something in
Well,
you that just knew this was healing.
well, it is, Julia. And the interesting thing is that one of our great I guess one of our huge goals was we wanted to bring sound to more people, because back in those days in the 80s and the 90s, you would say, oh, I work with sound as a healing modality, and people would say, well, what is that?
Right?
And
Yeah.
so we really and wanted to share and introduce and educate people into the whole world of sound healing. And so that's what we've been doing all these many years.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because now the phenomena of, quote, sound baths is
Yeah.
global.
Mm.
And for those who know me, for at least 30 plus years, I have been doing recordings that were nothing more or less than sonic environments, sound baths, if you like. They were designed to be used to shift and change the, if you like, consciousness, the physical body, etheric body of people who listen to them. So it's interesting how our listening habits and our awareness have also changed so
Mm.
much.
Yes, I can totally resonate with what you went through. Mine was a little bit later, like in the 90s. I was doing the esoteric energy work. And that's actually how I heard your music, Jonathan, because I heard Holy Harmony.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
I bought Holy Harmony because I was told that it had every frequency in it. Apparently, what the story I heard was that music had been manipulated and there were sounds that were missing. And this particular track that you created had all the healing tones in it. And I remember at the time we would, I would not really say that I was a light worker, because back then people would be like, light? What light? Electrical lights? Like, no. But that track, I remember putting that on, and I couldn't have it on for a long time at first, because it would just, I mean, it's shifting energy. But after a while, I could keep the track on, and I was harmonizing with it. And that was when I was first introduced to your work, which was a long time ago. So
Just for
yeah.
real quick, I have to, just because of the synchronicity. Got to talk about synchronicity for a minute because there's so many syncretic experiences. And just today, this world famous scientist is doing research with holy harmony and the frequencies in it and how it affects DNA. And he's basically
Really?
attempting to reproduce, because he found that the frequency bandwidth of this ascending sequence of frequencies had the most powerful effect of anything that he'd ever encountered in terms of really even quantum mechanisms that were specifically designed. And it didn't surprise me, because also upstairs at this very moment, we have a glass container of water that we have literally headphones on that are being pumped in with holy harmony to cluster and change the structure of the water.
That's it. I'm doing that. I'm setting that
That
up
is
when I get.
absolutely.
But make sure they're good headphones, not the little earbuds.
Oh no, no, yeah. We don't use any Bluetooth or yeah.
Oh,
But
good.
so
Yeah.
okay, because you have so much vast experience and knowledge, I am fascinated for you to share, and I know everyone will love hearing and learning about the 4 pillars of sound. So
Well, we would love to do this, and we would like to say that the reason we
Mm.
teach these is because as sound has grown more and more mainstream, some major elements and understandings about how and why sound works have been forgotten, obliterated, transformed, and not necessarily positively transformed. Transformation doesn't always mean for the better. And so we wanted to bring some major elements in. We call them the 4 pillars of sound healing.
Well, and we wanted to really bring in foundational aspects of sound healing because now, as were mentioning, it's just sound has exploded, and so many people are now interested. Now you say I'm a sound healer, and they go, "Oh, you must do sound baths. Oh, you must do crystal bowls." And we go, "Oh, there is so much more to it."
Right.
And so that was why we ended up developing the four pillars of sound because they're very basic foundational aspects of sound. And I think we should probably just jump in and share
Totally.
what they are.
And once again, because of our time constraints, we're barely going to be able to, scratch the surface of them. But we would like anyone who's listening to encode them in their consciousness as understanding that these are, at least from our perspective, our combined perspectives of almost as old as we are, of using sound and consciousness to create reality, is the fact of what we found as being true. So the first one is
The first one is everything is vibration. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that, but I just want to mention the four pillars. So everything is vibration. The second one is intent. Intention is powerful. The third one, we are all unique vibratory beings. And lastly, we have included silence is golden. So we
Yeah.
thought that those four could really lay the foundation for people who are opening up to this incredible world of using sound as a healing modality. Take it away, honey.
all right. I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute and go real fast so we can get through these because we got so much more to cover.
Got a
Because we
lot.
also would like, if possible, to discuss with you conscious humming.
Yes, that is definitely on the cards. I would love to hear about that.
So in our time remaining, we're going to split that between both of these topics. So everything is in vibration. Ancient mystic masters and quantum physicists agree with this concept that the universe is a symphony of vibration. In the beginning was the Word, and the Lord said, "Let there be light." You go to the different traditions on the planet, you find a commonality in their understanding that life, the universe, and everything came through the power of vibration of sound. And this includes,
Got it.
we back on?
Yeah.
Okay. And this includes, of course, the electrons moving around the nucleus of an atom, to planets in distant galaxies moving around their sun. If it's making a vibration, if it's creating a vibration, it's conceptually creating a sound. Now, sound travels as a waveform. How many cycles per second this waveform takes is called its frequency. We hear from around 20 of these hertz or cycles per second to around 20,000. But we want to bring to your attention that just because something is outside the range of this small spectrum of our hearing doesn't mean that there isn't a sound, because our finny friends in the ocean, the dolphins, can make and receive sounds upwards of 180,000 cycles a second.
Wow.
So understanding that basically sound encompasses so much more. And then the idea of using sound as a healing modality is very simple. Everything is in vibration, including our body. Every organ, every bone, every tissue, every part of our body is in a state of vibration. And when we are in a state of health, we say we're in sound health. We are like this orchestra playing the suite of the self. But what happens if the second violin player loses his sheet music? They begin to play out of harmony. They begin to play out of tune. Pretty soon the entire string section is off, and then the entire orchestra is off. And this is what we might perceive of as being a part of the body vibrating out of ease, out of harmony, is dis-ease. So very simply, we want to put this orchestra back in tune. We want to somehow project the correct resonant frequency back into the body for healing. give the string player back their sheet music.
And what I want to say is that actually there are two really important ways that sound affects us, and that is through psychoacoustics and vibroacoustics. And psychoacoustics is simply when we are listening to frequencies and sounds, that have been created really for the purpose of healing.
Such as these two tuning forks you can't hear, but the sound is going into my ears.
Now, the other way, vibroacoustics, is where the sound actually goes into our bodies at a deep cellular level. You want to share that?
So here's an example of that, is using a tuning fork, and the frequency goes into the body, shifting change on a cellular, molecular, atomic level.
And of course, when we're working with sound, both psychoacoustically and vibroacoustically are actually happening almost simultaneously. And as we go further into our time together, we want to talk about something that's very simple, which is humming, because we have discovered and found that humming is the most powerful vibroacoustic sound that we can actually make, because when we are humming, it is going directly into the body.
Nice. All right. We could do a day on that, but we're going to go to the second pillar of sound healing. The first, everything is vibration. The second is
Intent is powerful. And I have to jump here though, because intention is, of course, in our current healing lexicon, intention is like absolutely important. And in our sound healing world, intention is as important as the sound. And it was literally 45 years ago. I like to toot Jonathan's horn here because he came up with a formula that is so important, and it is frequency plus intent equals healing. So we're talking about the sound plus the intention, and that is what produces healing.
Now, this stems from when I was at Lesley University getting a master's degree in researching sound for healing. And I had literally a pile of papers about yo-hi with different frequencies and tones for the chakras, different frequencies and tones for the organ. And I come from a family of doctors, and I was all set to put these all together and have the Goldman Encyclopedia of Sound Healing. And all of a sudden, I realized that people did not agree with each other. You'd have a spiritual master, A, who would be using a particular set of mantras for the chakras, and spiritual master B, who'd be using a different sequence of mantras for the chakras, or Dr. X, who's using a particular set of frequencies for one organ, Dr. Y using a completely different set of frequencies for the same organ. I am rocking back and forth in front of my computer. I'm about to enter this information, and I'm going, this can't be, this doesn't make any sense. In this inner voice, that it is not only the frequency of the sound that creates the effect, but also the intention of the person making and receiving the sound. And I wrote down the words frequency plus intent equals healing.
And of course, you're probably familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. We've got Joe Dispenza talking about the placebo effect. Lynn McTaggart, who has done unbelievable work with the intention experiments. And so, it's now intention is right there up front on that front burner with sound.
At the time, I'm trying to talk to doctors and regular people about it. So have you ever contemplated the importance of intention? I'm talking to these scientists, and they look at me like I was a man from another planet, which I might be, but they weren't supposed to discover it. But nowadays, great. And they probably, if you like, we understand that sound carries the consciousness of the person making, so it's so important. And if you have a certain belief in what a sound is going to do, it will probably have that effect. So there are a lot of people using frequencies that I may have even brought them down the planet. And I never even dreamed that people would be using this frequency for this or that. And at first I was aghast thinking, oh my God, how can that be? And I realized, okay, if they got a belief that this is doing it, bless it be, that's fine.
Mm.
But we do have one thing, which is the fabulous words of our mentor.
Oh, right. Sarah Benson, is in the angelic realms right now, and she taught us so long ago the true sound of healing is love. And so
Yes.
that is the intention that we hold as, that just that beautiful opening of the heart and, connecting with people through our sound, through the intention of love.
Just want to add that one thing that people can do immediately is come to the realization that the conversational voice can be used as an instrument of healing simply by projecting compassion, kindness, love into it, so that when you're just talking to people, if you just be nice, you can do a whole lot of good. And I just want to share that with people because they don't realize how powerful just even their speaking voice is. I know that you all work with singing, which is, taking things up certainly a few octaves in amplitude and whatnot, but just realizing, just having a nice, gentle voice, people pick it up and you can heal. We walk every day at a wonderful little wildlife preserve, and when we see people there, we just walk up and we smile and go, "Hi, how you doing?" And people can be really down, and all of a sudden, go, "Oh, good." It'll shift and change the entire energetic field. Something as simple as that.
And so when we are holding that intention of compassion, loving kindness, and we are using our voice, we are sound healers.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Beautifully.
number 3. Everything is vibration 1. 2, intent is powerful. 3, we are all unique vibratory beings. I think this may be, for me, maybe one of my favorites because uh, it really explains so much about the diversity of all the different sounds, frequencies, and phenomena that are occurring. And the first question that we always ask, how many of you are allergic to penicillin? Are either of you?
No,
Okay,
not
so
that we
Andy is.
Well, when we're doing a workshop and we've got, a whole group of people, we'll say,
yeah.
hey, how many? And, inevitably, there's probably about a fourth of the people that would raise their hand. And, we use that as a metaphor because penicillin is a frequency and
Yep.
sound is a frequency. And then we let people know that, if penicillin could save this person's life, it could do the opposite for this person. Therefore, this particular frequency that they say is X, Y, or Z may be great for a number of people. For other people, it will not. So one size does not fit all. And we really wanted to bring that home to people, which is why we chose to have one of our pillars that we are all unique vibratory beings and we get affected in our own unique way to different frequencies and different sounds. And
From our perspective, there's no magic frequency. There's probably no magic supplement, no magic pharmaceutical, no magic food, no magic A, B, or C, that everybody is affected the same way. And this is so important because it
mhm,
really empowers ourselves to, if we have an adverse reaction to something, somebody says, "Oh, this is a healing frequency." And you go, I don't like that so much. Uh, from our perspective,
mm,
we are not in the no pain, no gain phenomena. If something doesn't feel good, find something that does.
mm, absolutely.
And one
And
thing that, yeah, go on.
oh, go ahead, Julia. That's fine.
Well, I was going to say, I felt a whole lot of freedom when I heard you say this in the past, Jonathan, where you're like a particular frequency, like 432. Let's talk about 432 and 440. Someone had said to me, uh, oh, did you record all your music in 432? And I said, well, no, but we were all in our hearts. Everyone I invited into the studio was connected to the music. They were very open-hearted. They'd been doing personal growth work for, a long time. And we went in there with the intention of, this is heart music. And so in my mind was, well, of course it's carrying the heart frequency. I know what it feels like to sing from my heart. It's a definite, tangible feeling, right?
Right.
And then when I heard you say, Jonathan, that, you're not really into that whole frequency thing because it's really all about the heart, I was like, oh my God, yes. Because it was an experience for me. I knew experientially that, like working with energy, I knew it worked. I knew working on my limiting beliefs worked. I knew the singing worked. I knew the humming worked. I didn't understand fully why. I met Bruce Lipton in 2012, and Margaret had sung in one of my workshops and loved it because they now use our music for their honeymoon effect retreats. But I didn't fully understand what we were doing until I started to learn about neuroplasticity. And then I understood the vibration, but just this book has really given me such a deeper appreciation for what we have created. Because I'm reading this going, oh my God, we have really created leading edge healing tools for people that are so powerful. And I've always said your voice is your God-given unique healing tool. Everyone's voice. You've got access to your own healing tool 24/7. And yeah, that really gave me an appreciation and expanded my view on what we're doing here, because I knew it was working for myself and our clients that we work with. But hearing that and hearing people like you that are pioneers in the field, it was like, oh, wow. This is great. Yeah.
Julia, thank you so much for that, because you have so eloquently said exactly what we really feel. It is the intention that we are holding when we are singing. And I know that both of you are beautiful, beautiful singers, and just knowing that it's the love that we're holding. And it doesn't matter if it's 432, if it's 538, whatever. It is love or compassion, but positive energy.
Let me pop in and say that I really appreciate your saying what you just did. I think from my perspective, the idea that there are certain frequencies that are healing frequencies is a self-limiting thought form. Okay, it's new. People have made it. At the same time, if people have that as a belief system, then I honor it. I'm not going to go, no, you're wrong, but I just understand that we live in a universe of frequencies, and that if we can, it's as though saying, well, you can only eat tofu or something like that. I mean, there's a smorgasbord of sound out there. Why restrict yourselves to one frequency? We are fluid. We are plastic. Being fluid and being able to go with the flow has always been the secret, whether it's the I Ching or Taoist philosophy or any sort of major thing. You be like the shaft of wheat that is fluid rather than the stiff board that snaps in the wind. But anyway, yes, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And, just to add to that, just briefly, it's like there are different beliefs that, this particular frequency, I won't mention it, but it is the frequency of love. People are really believing that, which is fine. But we've always said, but wait a minute, when a mother is holding their little baby and, humming and singing a lullaby, do they have to get their tuner out to make sure that, hey, I've got to make sure I'm in the frequency of love?
How absurd
No,
that.
no, you don't have to. It's what your intention is. So that's
you.
one of our best
Yeah.
points that we love to get across to people. Just holding the intention of positive energy.
Okay, kids, we're going to go on to the fourth pillar because of time restraints. And the fourth pillar is Andy's favorite.
Well, I love this one because it is silence is golden. And I love that we included this because, people get very enamored with their sounds and, whether it's, crystal bowls or, humming or toning or whatever. And they forget that, wait a minute, when you go into silence, that's actually when the shifts and the changes occur. Once we have that vibrational essence going through our bodies, then if we go into silence, even, after we're singing, doesn't matter, but it is that silence where we kind of begin to get in touch, what I like to say, with our inner wisdom.
Like to say that silence is the yin to the yang of sound. They work together, and for the true assimilation of the vibrational shift to occur, you need to be in silence. If you are in one vibration and you've been exposing it, then you did another vibration, your body, mind, or spirit doesn't have time to assimilate properly. Honor silence. And it brought to my attention that silence is an anagram of
listen. The word silent and the word listen have the exact same letters in them. And when you really meditate on that, it is profound. And you really begin to get, wait a minute, let me listen to the silence. And what do I hear? Probably a lot.
So just to repeat them again.
Become aware of what you're feeling, because the sound, like we do that with the singing, and I learned that with when I was pulled into doing sound healing by accident because they knew I sang, and someone that was their normal sound healer wasn't around. I said, okay, I have got no idea what I'm doing, and I had someone mentoring me, and they had these big moments of silence, but it was, we'd be sitting there for 5 minutes and I'd look over at the teacher and I'd be like, should we get going again? But I started to appreciate it was in the silence. And then because this temple was outside, there was so much nature. And then the nature became really loud in the silence, and it draws your consciousness to it. And then all of a sudden you're inside your body and you're feeling the pulse of the sound, and you don't get those awarenesses when you're going from one sound to the other. And also everything's patterns. Sound is creating a shape. So if you're going from one, you're not allowing the body to just rest in and integrate that pattern and the frequency that brings to you to awaken whatever it's going to awaken in your DNA.
You know what's so interesting? Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Maddie,
I find too that like at the end of one of our singing circles, we usually end with a big, 20 minutes of improvising. And then always at the end, it's like, okay, stop and turn your attention inwards. And you can feel the energy moving through your body. Like it's tangible. And I think that is really important in what we're saying of like, regardless of whether you're listening to something or whether you're actually singing, it's being able to have that moment to notice what it's doing for you so that you're aware when something's occurring in your body, and it's not doesn't just feel good because it's fun to sing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, actually, no, this is affecting me on a cellular level, and giving yourself time and space to have that silence, to realize that is crucial in the belief system of developing, this is real. This works. This is tangible, not just a fun activity.
Brings you into so much balance too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I want to bring you to an interesting thought that I had. Loud percussive sounds are used in a lot of shamanic traditions to break up thought forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet, what do audiences do after you've had an orchestra build this incredible etheric field? They shatter it. Oftentimes, not in all countries. Some countries sit there in silence. Other countries, and they don't realize they're doing it. If they did, I think they would sit in silence instead of breaking up the thought form with the sound.
Jonathan, wow, that is amazing, because I sung kirtan for years, and I love the fact that we sat in silence after each song. There's no clapping in kirtan. And I'm just realizing what you just said, that is so profound. It's like, of course, because you've just created this beautiful pattern in the field that everyone is dwelling in and benefiting from. But of course, the clapping shatters it. That's amazing.
I wonder
Mm.
why that's evolved that way. Because for me, I perform a lot as a musician, and like I want the claps. Like part of me wants the clapping, but now that you've said that, I'm like, oh, I wonder why I want that.
Well,
That's
acknowledgement, I
also
guess.
that's a socialization phenomena. I think that
Yeah.
that's when you grow up with and you expected, oh, you're a good person, but probably there wouldn't be necessary if you were able to, at an early age or as you grew developed, read energy and feel energy that way. But anyway, listen,
But one of the things, just as a quick little thing, one of the things that we would do too, after we had been in sound and then we're in silence, instead of clapping, we call it the
the
Atlantean
Atlantean clap.
handshake. And we
Yeah.
just thank you, and people could still give
Sure.
that appreciation
This
without
is this
breaking it
clapping in
up.
sign language? Isn't it clapping in sign language? Is it this?
Maybe
I
I've
Well,
never heard that.
oh,
like,
Maddie, it could be. I don't know. That's great if it is.
yeah, I
Because
think maybe it's hands. My
yeah.
dad works with people in that space, and
Beautiful,
he
beautiful.
does
Yeah.
it now at the end of class. I'm like, well, what are you doing? But I think it, I think it's
I like
clapping in sign
that.
language.
Spirit
Oh,
language.
I'll have to look that up.
Beautiful.
So,
So,
yes, a question is, shall we delve into the realm of humming in the
yes,
brief time
please.
left?
Yes, please. Because, Jonathan, I'd like to share with you both that quite a few years ago now, I was fascinated by chromotherapy, but I was also fascinated by vocal toning. And I was noticing how I felt after vocal toning, and understanding now that the hum is actually just so much easier. Just, know, gently the lips together, teeth apart, just sending that sound into your face. But I did these little, I made these color. I put a frequency with a particular colour, and it was just information I'd received from a woman in England. Her name escapes me. Well, Andrina Forrest, but the lady that she worked with had created said that these frequencies went with this, and they treated these organs. And I actually grew up, my children grew up with frequency medicine, because I used to take them to get what was called metatherapy. So you'd put headphones on and it could take a reading of what's going on in the body and send the right frequency in there. So they were quite young when I started doing that. And so anyway, yeah, I made these amazing color and sound healing activations. And again, since reading this book, I'm realizing, oh my God, I have created this amazing healing product. I knew it was good, and we'd done live blood analysis with it. We went in and did a before and after live blood, and the difference in the blood cells were fully separated after just 3 minutes of vocal toning, because I've heard you say 5 minutes is sort of a minimum for the humming. But we saw massive change. So, yeah, I'd love to hear.
Hmm.
And real quick, our friend John Stewart Reed over in England has been doing some really dramatic work with basically regenerating and rejuvenating red blood cells using sound. So,
Yeah.
just affirming. I was just talking to another different world famous scientist today. It was my day for talking with world famous scientists, and they were basically talking just about just what you were saying. And from my perspective, this is just me. I was just questioning because I think you can encode any color on any sound with your consciousness. But some people believe that each color has its own bandwidth, and I honor that. I just, All right, we're going to move into humming.
I do agree with you after hearing you speak, and also knowing that I think whatever you've got going on, that you're healing and working through, because we're all, the work is for us to learn to love ourselves on unconditionally, just that deep acceptance of self. And it's our limiting beliefs are what we're really working on, right? Because that's what we're all functioning from. So, and that's Bruce's work. And when I first heard Bruce speak, we'd already been doing this light work for about 10 years. And I started crying listening to Bruce in the audience. I was sitting there going, oh my God, he's explaining what we're doing. And again, I knew it worked, but I'd never understood why. And so when a limiting belief is playing out and it's coming up to the surface and it's been activated, I do agree with you, Jonathan, that if there's heartfelt intention for you to heal, whatever is there and presents, and it will be the perfect frequency. Like, it doesn't have to be a red with C note or a green with F note. It will be a sound, and whatever color is right for you, because we are all so unique and we've had so many different experiences, and different things trigger different experiences in the body for everybody.
I just want to share that when I was doing that research with sound at Leslie, I was also doing it with light, chromotherapy. And Lord, there were different systems of using light, whether it's Dinshaw or whatnot, so many different systems. And then I realized with one of my first experiences that if, for example, you hold a crystal and someone sings a sound and they project whatever frequency bandwidth of color you want, it'll fill your field regardless of what the keynote of what they're singing is.
Love that. Yes.
All right.
Consciousness. Yeah.
That's everything is consciousness, and belief is so important. Okay, back to humming.
Back to humming.
So here's the real quick story about why we did.
Right on the ball.
The reason we got into doing humming as a phenomenon was that we saw so many people having difficulties. I know you ladies work with singing, and that's a brilliant thing, but we would do large scale things with people and then come back a year later and say, how many of you are doing these exercises? And so few of them had, because so many people have been initiated into being judgmental about their voice. And it's such a hard barrier to brave. Thank you for doing that. But we said, oh God, this is too much. Is there a sound that nobody is judgmental about?
We knew that we had to come up with a whole new sort of paradigm in a way with working with your own voice with sound, because so many people were, I'm not a singer, I can't tone, I can't do. Yes, you can, because if you have a voice, you can work with sound. And we discovered, of course, that humming is the one sound, literally, that everybody can make. We've never heard anyone say, I'm just not a very good hummer.
I like my hum.
And so we decided to write a book on humming, and we really dove deep into the phenomena of humming. And the bottom line was that, thank you, yes, once we found out on certain levels what an extraordinary spiritual and all-purpose sound it was, we said, well, how the heck are we going to get anybody to take this seriously? Because nobody's ever written a book about humming before.
I mean, we think it's the first professionally published book on humming. And we thought, what are we going to do so that people take it seriously. And so the first chapter, which I know you've read, is nothing but peer-reviewed research. And so people began to go, wait a minute, there's really something to this. And of course, in that chapter, we have all the physiological benefits that happen when we are humming, and, things from increasing the oxygen in our cells to lowering our blood pressure and our heart rate.
Which is huge, because if you can do that, and I do it all the time, within about 2 or 3 minutes, you can bring your blood pressure down 10, 20, 30 points, which is a phenomenal pharmaceutical thing that, as Bruce Lipton writes about in that it's a non-pharmaceutical approach.
I should read.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we
love this quote.
We have to read for our audience the quote that Dr. Bruce Lipton has written for our book.
Please do. We all love Bruce.
And we do. And Bruce and Margaret, they are just dear beloved friends.
Yeah, and I love them.
I know. Oh, I love them. So Bruce says, I highly recommend the humming effect for all those impacted by the stress of the modern world. It is a powerful, non-pharmaceutical prescription for self-healing that has only positive side effects, such as harmony, health, and happiness. So when we are humming, it's very difficult to be angry, to be upset when you're humming. However,
you can't do it.
As a therapist, what I love about humming is that you can, and we call it conscious humming, by the way, because we have, particular protocols that we've developed. But it is like you can become your own therapist. And when you're stressed out, you're frustrated, you're just don't know which way to turn because, our world is kind of crazy right now. And so we can do something as simple and effective, literally, as humming.
Some of the other things, I wanted to say lowering the blood pressure and heart rate was so important because it was stressed out, but other things get increased levels of
Melatonin, and it increased levels of oxytocin, which is the trust hormone, and it reduces levels of stress-related hormones like cortisol, and the big one is nitric oxide.
And that is, of course, a vasodilator, and it is also a wonderful bacterial antiviral agent when it's generated through the nasal cavity, so you can get rid of a lot of the nasty critters that lodge in the nasal cavity before they go anywhere else. And of course, humming also increases heart rate variability, which I know you all know about, as well as working with the vagus nerve. A lot of people are unaware that Stephen Porges, who first came up with the polyvagal theory of the vagus nerve, he talked about two different ways of consciously affecting the vagus nerve. One was with breath, and the other was with humming. And now a lot of people have forgotten that, but that's there, and it's something we just share, and everything works together. It's not just one thing or other. It's, you get the lower heart rate, blood pressure, you get this and that, all because everything is working together. But what a fabulous thing. Something as simple.
And of course, when we are humming, breath is a huge part of that. And what we do when we teach the humming, we will take that in breath. We will breathe in, inhale, and then it's on the exhale that we hum. But before we even start humming, we'll do some nice deep belly breaths, diaphragmatic breathing, because that really relaxes the body. And then when we add sound and add that hum at that point, it can be powerfully healing.
And we know that you all do this.
I know, I was just going to say.
This is, okay, so we're going to go through our protocols of conscious humming, just for people who are listening, and because we know that you know this. And the first thing is that before we do this, we want you to check yourself out and just see where you're at, because you can't know where you've been till you look, whatever.
You're comparing.
You know where you're going, you know where you've been. All right.
You're comparing.
And
Would
you're
you
right.
like to run us through? Why don't you run us through a little Just run us through a little activity.
Yeah, let me just do the other. So the second one is taken deep and relaxed breaths. Third, keep your lips closed. We say that because there are people who go, I can hum with my mouth open. No, you can't. One of the
Doesn't work.
little games that we always play is to ask people to hum and then close their nose. And what happens? They go, hmm. You can hum if your lips are closed. It just doesn't happen. If you're going, that's not a hum. Next one is you hum on one note, and that note is a comfortable note. It's in your comfort range.
And last, well, we normally will hum. We'll do usually a series of maybe 3 to 5 hums, and then we'll be in silence because as we've talked so much about silence, that is where the shifts and changes actually occur. And so we would love to take our audience through a brief exercise with humming, now that we've gone over the protocols, but
Yeah,
let me just briefly go over them quickly.
again.
You would check yourself out, see where you're at in the moment. We're going to take some nice, deep diaphragmatic breaths. We're going to make sure that our lips are closed. We're going to hum on one note, one pitch, and we're going to be in our comfort zone. That's very important. And then we'll be in silence for a few moments.
For an equal amount of time. So how many times should we do it, my dear?
Should we do 3?
Let's do
Or
4.
4. Let's do 4. I think we have time. Do we have time to do 4?
Good
Okay, let's do
enough.
4.
I don't
Hey,
know if I can handle that one.
we're ready. So what I like to do is ask people to close their eyes and begin to focus on your breathing. And let's begin by taking a nice deep breath and releasing that breath with a sigh. Letting go of anything that is not serving us in this moment. Another letting out that sigh, releasing any stress that we might be feeling in our bodies in this moment. And just begin. Do some nice, deep, diaphragmatic breaths. We call them belly breaths. You can even put your hands on your belly and feel it expand as you take that deep breath in and release it. And now we will begin to do a series of 5 hums. So we're going to take that nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, we will hum. So here we go. Breathing in. Breathing in. Breathing in. And one more. Breathing in. And now we'll be in silence for just a few moments to allow those shifts and changes within our bodies, our minds, and our spirits to begin to occur. As we're in silence, tuning in and listening to our own inner wisdom.
And just checking yourself out, noticing any shifts and changes. And I'm going to say that before we go back, I have to acknowledge that with the magic of the internet, there are some hilarious sounds that were occurring when we were both humming together.
We did have a little bit of interesting feedback there. But at any rate, I hope that for you both, Maddie and Julia, and for our audience, that just having this very brief experience of allowing yourselves this moment to do a little bit of humming and just to see how that feels.
And as seasoned hummers, which I know you both are, and I mean, I think you can validate that the more you get into humming, the more powerful the experience becomes.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then,
and
excuse me,
I was just going to
please.
share with you that after a sound healing and there's the silence, I sit people up, and because they've got to get into a car and drive heavy machinery, I actually get people to hum for 3 to 5 minutes because don't you feel more present? It
Wow.
brings me into presence, right down into my body, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here now. I can function better.
And I
I
have
just,
You,
one question before we wrap up.
yeah.
What is your reasoning for staying on one note?
Oh, easy. If you did Flight of the Bumblebee, then the sequence of the vibrational level of the frequency becomes dulled because you're mixing it around. It's as though if you want to drink pure water, if you begin mixing it with tofu, I don't know where the tofu is coming from. If you become if
Nobody's
you
like
mix it with something else, it's not as potent. So that's a good question. And another thing that I wanted to really suggest is that the next level of doing this is the hum will do for you what you want. If you want to do it for grounding, that's your intention, it is great. If you want to do it to take you out of your body, that is great. And you can do that too, because the om comes from the hum. The Yoga Sutras, Sutra 1.27, basically says the original sound of creation was pranava, the humming of prana. And therefore, they had to give it a name. They called it Om, but therefore, you can basically do anything you want. You can learn to project sound into your skull area, your throat area, your chest, and even your belly without even changing the pitch. If you change the pitch, the hum, going, that'll do it. But I'm going to now I'm going to do the same thing without changing the pitch. You couldn't, I could feel the resonance going, and I didn't change my
Yeah,
pitch. So, or
it's like
the
vocal
word.
placement.
Well, and
Yeah.
also I want to mention that in our book, we've got a lot of different exercises that you can do because you can, tone, through the different chakras, etc. And also there is an advanced yogic humming experience,
Brahmari pranayama.
Brahmari pranayama, where people will cover their eyes and their ears, and you will even get a deeper experience that way. So there's a lot that you can do with something as beautifully simple and effective as humming for healing.
Yeah, it really immerses you in the sound when you cover your ears and your eyes. You're just with the sound.
Mm.
And the
I'm going to
vibration.
I'm going to suggest too that we're going to find, maybe sooner than you think, or I think, that the hum can actually assist with what is called neurogenesis, or the regeneration of brain cells, and that they're going to find that it's going to be really useful for those people who are worried about aging and dulling your brain activity, because it literally, with nitric oxide and all this other stuff, sort of massages your brain and helps make new neural synaptic connections. What a concept!
Mm.
Not that all,
Absolutely. Well, and
not
of
that.
course, the science behind the neuroplasticity is that Dr. Norman Doidge discovered that it's the feel good chemicals that create that chemical cocktail that helps to consolidate the new neural pathway. And so that was important for us because in all of our music, we've woven, I love Greg Braden's work as well. So I've woven word keys and wisdom codes throughout the songs, lots of positive, life affirming lyrics. So everything we do is life affirming. Okay. So you're singing these life affirming lyrics. You've got this beautiful chemical cocktail that's consolidating this new neuronal growth. Now, with Bruce's work, he talks about how we're always functioning from our reprogramming. And from our work, we know this to be true. I've been working in this field for 25 years. So when you're constantly thinking the same thought, you're really sending a lot of energy to that one pathway. So by singing and singing new thought patterns into the neuroplasticity, you're creating a new way of thinking and feeling, because epigenetically then you're even this morning, because we did a global mantra meditation last night and we sing original songs on that. And the song, I woke up this morning and the song is just in my head, what we were singing. And that's the beautiful part about singing. Humming is so accessible because singing does take a bit more effort sometimes, don't you think? Whereas humming can be, you can be sitting, the kitchen sink, washing up, doing whatever.
Exactly.
You've got to get into the habit of it. That's it. It's creating a habit, putting little stick-on notes. This is for people because I'm already in the habit. But to put stick-on notes, to remind yourself to hum and to tell yourself, I love you. And, just all these beautiful little things that are absolutely so healing on such a cellular level. And that's what I love about humming, because it is so easy, because the days when I'm tired or I can just hum. But I would love to, we'll talk about this later, but I'd love to maybe see if we can put a workshop together, because it would be wonderful to share your work and collaborate and do something like that. And I would love to share with you what I've created with the colour and sound, because I think we'll have a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
We've woven our songs into the end of it. So once you've done the humming, and it's all intention work, you get up and you're dancing around, because movement as well integrates what you're doing and what you're healing and what you're working through. So, and there's a silence section in it too. So
Lovely.
I mean, the world of sound is so multifoliate. We just found that the hum is a good gateway sound to introduce people to the aspect of using vibration for healing. Obviously, I still work with mantras, overtone chanting, all sorts of things we both do. And, so I hope that people don't think that the only thing we do is
No,
Well,
Jonathan, show us one of your show us one of your notes, because you do that throat singing.
oh,
or
Wow.
Oh, cool.
You can hear all the overtones in that, huh? Even
exactly.
through the dodgy,
Yeah.
dodgy internet from across the world, you can feel that.
No, well, we know you do lots of beautiful things. You've got lots of amazing books and music and CDs, and I've downloaded the app, and I love that app. It's great. With you've got the chakras and you've got the color. That's a 7-minute. What do you call that? The 7-minute.
Tune-up, the 7-minute
chakra
tune-up.
Okay.
You can do that,
It's
and
good.
it's a minute per chakra.
Yeah.
And
We want to invite people, if it's possible, if it feels appropriate, to go visit our website, healingsounds.com. Just want to mention that, because
What are some of the offerings that you have at the moment, or is there anything coming up that you'd like to share?
clueless, but something new that is being probably released in the next month is a online harmonic journeys home study program that takes people through breath, humming, harmonics and whatnot. It was based upon some work that Don Campbell and I did 30 years ago, and we've now just updated it to being in the new computer cyberspace age, and it's a blessing.
And we have that coming up, but we also do a sound sat song. Normally we do it once a month. Some months we don't because of various vacation and things. But people
Lifestyle.
can but people can, and it's free if we do it. It's just we offer it as a service and we talk about different aspects of sound. We've been doing this now for a couple of years. And of course, if we ever do, when we do things in person, we just came back from Fort Collins doing a workshop. So we're constantly busy as we can be.
And blessed be, thank you so much
Yeah.
for inviting us and allowing us in to your field. And you are such wise beings. Your observations were like, oh, they really know what they're talking about. That we could have just carried this on as a discussion for quite a while
Oh.
because you're
Just such a blessing. And you guys, thank you so very, very much. This has
Thank you.
really been a joy.
And thank you for your time and thank you for your wisdom. And honestly, I am going because I live 4 hours north, so I'm here with my daughter. But I am going home and getting my headphones and putting them on my water bottle with Holy Harmony because I'm just like, yes, that's, and I'm enjoying, I'll be putting this together because I get to listen to it again because there was a few things in there that oh, wow, I did not know that. So I need to re-listen and integrate the learnings there.
Yeah,
So
pause the
thank
video
you.
in the recording and just have silence to reflect on what you've said. Amazing. It was lovely to meet you both. An absolute pleasure.
Many blessings.
bye bye.